Welcome to our reptile room. Years of hard work has gone into building this reptile room, and today I am showing you all 42 enclosures, 27 different species, and over 150 animals, plus a look at our quarantine room that we have never shared before. You know, in the last reptile room tour when I said this, if we could produce one baby turtle this year, I will be over the moon. I think that will be probably my greatest achievement in reptile keeping history. It finally happened. Little Brian is here and my dreams have come true. If you want to know more about what I'm talking about, make sure you stick around for the entire video because we have tons of updates, lots of babies. Buckle up, grab a beverage. I have my PSL creamer and some coffee here because you guys would never know that unless I told you so. Grab your favorite beverage, maybe a snack too, because we got a long video ahead. Let's get touring the reptile room. Now we're gonna be starting this reptile room tour with Kalea. She is our Gonyosoma oxycephalum, otherwise known as a red-tailed green rat snake. As you can tell, she is not really all that green and certainly does not have a red tail, but she is a Borneo locality, a red-tailed green rat. She's currently living in a tank that is much too small for her. We do have some news about her tank. The one, the only Cody Tackett from Herb Havoc has come out, measured the tank, and is actually carving the background as we speak. So in the beginning of November, he's coming out to do the installation and we're gonna get this tank all set up. I am so excited. It's gonna be almost 3 or 4 times the size of space for her. It's 4 feet by 2 feet by 4 feet high. We do have a little bit of prep work to do, but that's gonna take maybe a day or two. Finally, some movement. There is backgrounds being made, and if you guys have seen any of Cody's stuff, you'll know that he's gonna knock it right out of the park, and she deserves it. Like, that beautiful 4K crispiness. All the snakes just ate, so I'm not gonna bug them any more than I actually have to. I'll quickly go over some of the rest of the rack here. I actually moved my Fuego from the other bin into this bin. He's doing fantastic. He's actually going to be available at the October Reptile Expo here in Toronto. If you guys are interested, let me know. I can't ship to the States, but I can ship across Canada. Then up here, we have a new group from one of Bree's friends of the Sonora annulata, and I would love to show you them. Well, you can see a tail, but that's not really why you guys came here. Unfortunately, there are none out at the moment. Hopefully later on I can catch a couple snippets and show you them. Then up top here, we have our Chahoua. Some of them are for sale, some of them just hatched, like these guys up here just hatched. We have one of the little babies here. You can see him right there, just the littlest little dude. Oh my goodness, so cute. They're tiny. They just hatched about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. And then we also have some larger ones that hatch kind of at the beginning of the year. You guys can see there. They're just growing out. And I believe this one's actually sold already, but this year has been a fantastic year for Chahoua. I'll talk about it more when I show you the Chahoua later on. But before I get too far into it, I did want to mention a couple things before we move on to feeding these guys with, as you can see, my Hawaiian peel. Nice hibiscus for them as a treat. This weekend when you guys are watching it, I'm hoping to have this out Friday. So Saturday, October 4th, I'll be at the Legacy grand opening there with a bunch of other YouTube friends, as well as hopefully a bunch of you. Let me know if you guys would like a video about that. Then the weekend after is actually Tinley Reptile Expo, where myself, Bree, and a whole bunch of our friends will be perusing the expo, hanging out, enjoying what Tinley has to offer. As always, I do make a video about that. Let me know what you're doing in October. Are you coming to the Legacy? Hope to see you there. We're moving over to the Uromastyx stack, plus a blue-tongued skink in the very bottom. Here we have Gertie. Easy, easy, easy. This is Gertie, my little baby probable male Uromastyx. And Hugo, I figured, would be storming over here for some snacks, but doesn't look like that's gonna be the case. Were you digging? Yes, you were. Okay. Why? Here, some snacks. It's like, bro, you fed us yesterday. I am not hungry anymore. Gertie's going at it though. You're a wild man. I love these guys so much. You know, I rant pretty much in every single reptile room tour about how fantastic Uromastyx are. I refuse to let it go because they just are. Like, given the right temperatures, the right UVB, etc., These guys are just so personable, especially if you can get a captive bred baby like that. They're unbeatable. Don't get me wrong, bearded dragons are cool. These guys are just my favorite of anything, especially Hugo here. He has a lot of personal significance to me. He's kind of the only lizard that I have, well, reptile period, that I have left from my childhood in Calgary. Really a symbol of home for me, so really does just make me so happy. And on that note, we can move down to the other group of Uromastyx that you guys actually didn't see in the last reptile room tour because they came the day after I filmed it. Let's give them some hibiscus and I can introduce you to the crew. First one, and probably the most bold, is Bumble. She is one of the females. She's a little sussed out, like, what is happening right now? I'm sure they're not too fond of the camera. They go through phases. You know, a lot of times they are much better than when we first got them. When we first got them, we couldn't even walk into the room, despite them being pretty chill for their previous owner. Kanta, the male orange, is actually back there in the rock crevice. Yeah, you can see his outline there. And then we actually have another female named Lope. So it's Cantaloupe and Bumble. That's Bumble because she's yellow like a bumblebee. I didn't name them, I'm just keeping their old names. But these guys are doing fantastic. They're getting more bold. I didn't make a video or anything about, you know, like taming your Uromastyx or anything along those lines. Honestly, I think it's just time. Like as the time moves on, these guys are getting more and more bold. She actually came out yesterday and started eating Bree's shirt. Oh. He spotted the flat. Bro, there's no way you're making it out of there. That hole's like the size of a quarter. Honestly, I'm astonished right now. I'm just gonna sit here and keep watching. Otherwise, Bumble will eat the entire thing. Wow. That was impressive. I'm shocked, to be honest. But these guys are not the biggest fans of the camera. I haven't had them long enough to be shoving a camera in their face, where these two are very much used to it. The trio in here is most certainly not. But like I said, they were never even this bold before. Like we would never see them eat. They would only ever come out when we were outside of the room. We'd put food down, we'd leave, and they would be gone. So we know all of them are eating. As you can see, Bumble is a little round. I'm kind of questioning how much she got versus everybody else, but I suppose it is possible that she also has eggs. I wouldn't expect it to be this early in the season, or this late in the season, I suppose. Not outside of the realm of possibility. The plans for their tank are to essentially remove some of those rocks and then incorporate a humid hide like what they have up there. So it's basically just a Rubbermaid bin with a hole on the top and then a hole in the side, and incorporate it into this setup as well. I think that will be kind of the best for their needs, but he's going to muck that hibiscus. Now that we've seen a couple of them, I don't think we're going to see Lope today. At least you got to see a couple of them. Some of the new additions to you guys. To us, they've been here for months. In here, we have Indy, Bree's blue-tongued skink. This is a northern Australian blue-tongued skink, Heliqua skincoides intermedia. He's in a 4x2x2. Yeah, he's doing great, but he was also just fed yesterday because Sunday is our typical feeding day for most of these guys. And yeah, he is refusing to come out. So what you guys are seeing right now is footage from previous reptile room tours, but he really hasn't changed at all. His tank's doing great. I am so happy with how Bree set this up. It looks incredible. Yes, those are fake plants. I think that is one of 2 tanks with fake plants in them, but he does have plenty of cleanup crew in his enclosure. There are thousands of isopods running amongst that leaf litter and helping maintain his enclosure. We do get in there every so often and clean out any urates or anything like that. One issue that we've been having is I'm gonna need to install like a jack or something on this tank because there is so much weight from all the tanks above it that this tank is starting to split at the bottom. Now, there's no real issue. I'm not worried about water getting in because it is lined with a aluminum sheet all around the bottom to basically make like a tray. You can actually see it there. It is bright red, so yeah, there's no mistaking what that is, but I had a feeling when we installed these supports that this would happen. It would kind of push out the bottom, and it has. So my thought, and let me know if you guys have any other suggestions in the comments down below, is to add a car jack under there, basically right where those 2 pieces of wood are, and then push it up, because currently the glass is extremely hard to move due to the pressure produced from all of these tanks on top of it and all the rocks and whatnot. Let me know if anybody else has any other solutions. I think that is probably, I can find one for like 70, 80 bucks, and I think that will probably be the quickest, easiest solution. So let me know if you have any alternative ideas in the comments down below. Now we can move from the wood tanks just to our left to the 77-inch heavy-duty industrial rack that we have. We have 3 of them in the room, as you'll see when we go around. I'll try and find a link and throw it in the description down below. It is an Amazon link, so if you want to help support the channel, feel free to check it out and make your Amazon purchase through that. That would be sweet. I don't think there's any of these size, but there are other heavy-duty rats that I'll leave down below, like 36 to 48-inch ones. Enough ranting about shelves. Now we can move over to our little angry man. This is Caspian, the captive bred Gonyosoma oxycephalum. And despite being captive bred, he is so angry. I don't know why, but he is just not the happiest of all campers. And he is growing at breakneck speed. So one of our next projects will be getting him out of this tank and actually into either an 1824, or if this tank is done, then we'll move her into there and move him into here, because they do grow that fast. Like, he's growing so fast. He sheds probably about once a month, maybe once every 2 months. We've had him since he was a fresh hatchling, and he is certainly no longer a fresh hatchling. He's eating incredibly well. Maybe if he's out a little bit later, I'll give you guys kind of a more full body shot. Next to Caspian, we have an empty tank. We do not have any more baby Tachydrama smaragdinus. We only have the adults. Next to those guys, we do have a couple little baby Tachydrama dorsalis doing fantastic, basking as you can see. And then next to them, so you guys get a little bit more of an accurate representation, we have Turok, my longtime male. These guys came from a buddy in the US, and they're still going very strong. Turok is a little bit more of a skitsy individual, where Midori here is an absolute sweetheart. She is kind of an old, almost geriatric, like, actually I think both of these guys are probably like 12-ish years old, maybe even older. They're probably towards the end of their life, and that's why they're separated. I used to have them in the tank right here, where the adult dorsalis are now. These two weren't getting along very well, and I really didn't want her to put her through any more stress of producing eggs, so I separated them, and they've been great ever since. She still has the kind of limited mobility issue that she had before, but look at that face. They're just the best. I love these guys. I think they are my favorite species of lizard that I've ever kept. I don't know, because I always get torn between the Euros. See? That's why. I always get torn between the Euros and these guys. I think these guys take the cake. They're just so active. It's like literally having a TV in your reptile room. Like, they're just so inquisitive. You guys will see in a sec. I'll stop rambling about the two that are doing absolutely nothing right now. As we move down the rack, you can see we obviously have an empty tank, but we do have a couple. I am not gonna be able to see these guys. I'm gonna come back at night and hopefully superimpose some footage. All 4 of these tanks right here are all probably 2 different species of fish scale gecko. Oh, hey, wow. You're actually out. That's kind of nuts. So these guys are babies that Bree is raising up. Will I be able to get away with it? Whoa, yes. So these guys actually came from Europe, the whole group. So we have 2 in here. I think you can see another one's kind of belly back there. We have 2 in here, and then we have 1 in each of these enclosures. This is Doughy in here. I don't know if Doughy's out or not. Well, you can see her tail back there. Doughy is a bit of a behemoth. We think that she is Geckolepis maculata, but we're really not sure. The unfortunate thing with Geckolepis in general is they're virtually impossible to study, because the second you capture them, they turn into raw chicken. So there's really no studies going on with them. These 2 here are the same as these 2, and this pair in here produced the babies up here. And oh, there's one. Hi, little guy. Well, you saw them for a brief second, but they look entirely different from the ones in here. These guys, you can see they kind of had like a mottled pattern. It's kind of hard to describe, but you saw it. The ones in here are this essentially universal color with just like white speckling on them. So that's what doughy produces right there. We don't know. They could be a locality, they could be a subspecies, they could be something. Bree is desperately trying to figure it out. Unfortunately, without more research done, like genetics research, we're probably not gonna get anywhere. I guess while we're here, I can talk about their tanks. We have completely redone their tanks. Before they were just in kind of temporary little like quick setups. Now they're in fully fledged bioactive mode with the plants and the cleanup crew and everything. They're all doing really good. We have a few geckos in each tank, and we're basically just experimenting to see whether or not we can keep them long-term together or whether that's not such a good idea, because we do have a whole bunch more 8x12s up there, and we have a couple free spots on this rack to set up if we need to. And there's an even better shot of the ones that doughies produce. Yay! These are doughies babies. They're so cute. But man, I tell you, one thing about fish scale geckos, they are some of the coolest geckos I've ever owned. Geckos, not lizards. But they are so fast. Like, it doesn't even look like they have arms. They have no right being so fast, but they really are. They're like lightning. I thought the Lygodactylus Williams I had way back in the day were fast. I think these guys would put them to shame, to be honest. I think that's enough ranting about the fish scale geckos, because I don't even know how long I've just been going off for. But I do have to show you guys the out of control Ficus pumila that is taking over these two tanks. Look at that. That's all started in this tank here. It's doing terrible in this tank, but outside it's like, oh hey, what's up? And that's why Ficus pumila is either the worst or the best plant to put in vivarium. And now we can move over to one of my dart frogs. If this is kind of your first time on the channel, I love poison dart frogs. They are some of my favorite animals in the world. We did a whole trip to Colombia last year that I will be making a video on, I promise. This tank is probably our oldest or second oldest tank in the entire household. It definitely needs some TLC. Frankly, I'm trying to actually sell one of the other dart frogs, and then I'd move this into that one's tank. But upon going through here and searching for the frog, which you can see in the little cup back there, I know you can see it. Well, you can see it move. There we go. There's the frog. So we only have one Oophaga pumilio Bastimentos in this tank. It's kind of rare that I see her given the overgrown state of this tank, so I'm very happy that she's doing well. But I don't know what this girl's doing in there. Can you explain yourself? I have friends that pair morning geckos with dart frogs all the time, but I guess that's a little spoiler for what is up there in that tank. Morning geckos. Down here, we have a couple tanks. We have our Leucasium damium in this tank here that Bree set up and did like a build on her Instagram, if you guys are curious. And over here, we have little Chip. Hello. You have grown so much. So a year ago, Bree came home, well, actually surprised me at a reptile expo with Chip. For those longtime viewers that might just be tuning in, Sheldon passed away over a year ago, well over a year ago at this point. But Chip is the beautiful little man that came into my life because Bree decided to pick me up a little baby Hermann's tortoise. Not to replace Sheldon, she decided to fill a new place in my heart with Chip. And boy, has he ever done that. Come over here. Show the people how cute you are. Are you going to eat my finger? Definitely going to eat your finger. He is my Hermann's tortoise. Actually, I don't know that it's a he, but a little too young to tell just yet. We have him in a little pen. These are all live plants. So this is live rosemary is kind of lining the outside. The blue fescue there is, I guess, crowning both of his two big hides. And then we have a little hen and chicks that I'm sure he'll destroy in a matter of days. So far, it looks like he was just kind of hiding under it. He actually dug under it to hide. Maybe it stands a chance. Bree actually redid this enclosure. I do really like what Bree did with this enclosure. I'm still not sure if I love the leaf litter. It looks good. He's doing great. And I'm very happy to have another tortoise in my life because though I never want to breed them or really like have a pair necessarily, but just having one tortoise, especially Hermann's. I've noticed the Hermanns have a lot of personality. And that's also anecdotally from a bunch of my friends as well. Like the Hermanns just have so much spunk to them that it's kind of hard to beat. Now, the only thing that might compare is the Spangleri, but those aren't tortoises. Moving from Chip over to the Damium, we hopefully will be able to get a few of them out. If you're not going to come out, I'll just come to you. Oh, there we go. Okay. These guys are a species from Australia that we really haven't had any luck producing. Their personality makes up for any desire to even want to produce them, to be honest. Like I have no problem if we don't produce these guys because they're just the goofiest little geckos ever. They're so cute. They have so much personality. Typically, whenever we're in the reptile room, they just come out and they all, there's 5 in this tank and they all run up to the front, hang out, and basically beg for food through the little window at the front of the tank. And it's so cute. Anyways, yes, if you guys are curious how Bree made this tank, she did make an entire Instagram reel about it. It's holding up really well. I'm very happy with it. Now, it would be nearly impossible to find eggs in here because, as you saw, this girl emerged from under that like rock there. Getting this all apart would frankly just destroy the entire enclosure. So there's really not much we can do about that. I encourage you, if you guys see either the Leucasium damium or the helmeted gecko, Diplodactylus galeatus, go out and buy them. Australian geckos just in general are such different beasts than the rest of like the gecko world. They don't eat their skin. They always leave their pajamas laying around their enclosure. From what we've seen from the few species that we've kept, they just have a ton of personality. Now that's all the way from Strophoris to the Diplodactylus to the Leucasium. They are just wonderful little geckos that I think more people should have. Moving up from the bottom row, we can go over to the quarantine frog tank that we just actually remodeled. It used to have some wood in here, but that's really hard to sterilize and get clean, so we replaced it with, I think she was inspired by ETB breeders and keepers, and it's basically just like a PVC tube with caps on the end, a screw eye, and then a hook on the glass, and it works great. We just treated them again with ivermectin, and we're hoping, like, they're definitely doing much, much better. Whether they're cured or not, that's to be seen, but they are very, very cool frogs. I just feel really bad. I don't know. These are Bree's frogs. She's going to make the call with what to do with them. I know she's been debating whether their quality of life is good. I think it's okay. I would just love to get them in like a proper setup because being stuck for your entire existence on paper towel and PVC, not really where my standards of keeping are at. I know everybody has a different opinion about it, but in terms of how I feel, that's kind of my opinion. That is literally the entire reason why Bree loves these frogs, and they're very round. Like, he basically looks like a golf ball, more like a tennis ball. He's very round. And she is as well. That is kind of the main appeal of these guys. They're very cool frogs. I really like them. Why get tree frogs when you can have a slice of Colombian nature over there that we'll get to very soon? Sticking where we left off on the other rack, down at the very bottom, we can move over to the king of the goofballs, the female and the male. I still haven't picked names for these guys. Honestly, don't know why. I feel bad because like literally every animal we've named, probably the two with the most personality in the entire reptile room are the male and the female. I call them collectively like the crackheads, the goofballs. It's just kind of a broad term for both of them. And I feel semi-justified because despite them, you know, not being named, they are still some of my favorite animals in the reptile room. And I think that's why I'm having such a difficulty naming them, is because they just have so much personality, so much life, and I love them so much that no name really holds up to how special they are to me. She's staring at my toes, which is kind of weird. They are not shy. They will run out of the tank, so I gotta be kind of quick about this. As you can see, both of these tanks have seen much better days. However, both of these guys do brumate. The result of said brumation is little B, who you will see just after this eating, well, hopefully eating. Brumation is only about a month and a half to 2 months away, and during that time, my plan is to actually custom build 2 new enclosures, obviously one for the male and one for the female. Essentially use the entire depth of the rack. I might make the tanks a little bit skinnier, but deeper, And then I'm also planning to do more glass top, less ventilation. We'll see how that goes. If you guys want a detailed video of how to build your own glass tank, let me know. I'm happy to help. There are a couple videos on YouTube now with people building tanks, so you can find them. Troy is one of them, and I believe the Terrarium channel has both an English and a French version. I'll double check that in the edit, but you guys can go find those. I can happily make a video if you guys want a mic version of how to build a glass tank. Where are you going? And now we can go over, I guess I was showing the male for most of that time, but you know, female looks very similar, just slightly less pretty eyes. I did not call you ugly, I promise. I don't even know if I said their species. These guys are Vietnamese black-breasted leaf turtles, or Geomyda spengleri. A very rare species in the trade, and probably one of the coolest turtles ever. Now we can go feed Mini B. Unfortunately, the feeding did not go quite to plan. I think the piece of worm that I put in there was a little bit too big for him, and it kind of scared him every time that he got a hold of it. That being said, he did end up eating another piece of worm. It was just after this, and I wasn't recording, so I'm happy that he's eating. He's doing fantastic and getting more and more personality as the days go by. Next time, I think I'm going to try a slightly smaller piece of worm and maybe some floating turtle pellets, because apparently they really explode on growth once you get them over to that. I will be sharing a video with you guys, like I mentioned, about him, the breeding, the raising him so far. Everything will be included in a video coming hopefully fairly soon. Make sure you stick to the channel, and I really hope you enjoyed the clip of him trying to eat. With that being said, I did end up putting them in his enclosure with him, just in case they still have some motion to them and he does feel inclined to eat them. I say he, that's just because I named him Brian. Yeah, you guys will find out why in that video, but I'm sure you can probably guess why in the comments down below. Now let's continue on with the reptile room tour. We have a pair of Chahoua in here. You can obviously see one there. Those beautiful eyes. Wow, that's kind of a sick shot, honestly. I say it in every video, but I really wish I would have gotten a Chahoua long before meeting Bree, because these are all technically hers, I guess, or ours. She's the one that introduced me to Chahoua, and I think they are amongst the elite tier of New Caledonian geckos. They're fairly easy to keep. They eat a lot of protein and crickets and bugs and whatnot. They do eat also Pangea and stuff. They do require UVB, so they are a little bit more specialized than something like a crested gecko, but I've just found that they are much more, I don't know if thoughtful is the word, but that's the word I'm going to use. They are much more thoughtful, and their movements are more intentful. Is that a word? I don't know. That's what I'm calling it. They're not going to launch off your hand into the oblivion like most crested geckos that I've met. These guys are just really, really cool. Now we do have a pair in here. When comparing them to crested geckos breeding-wise, they are not anywhere near the same. You know, cresties will lay basically a clutch of eggs every 3 to 4 weeks-ish, where these guys might lay 2 to 3 clutches if you're lucky a year. Much different in terms of actual numbers. They're much more manageable, and the market on them is definitely stronger than the crested geckos. So far, we haven't had too much issue selling them for what they're worth at like full price. A PI Chahoua, depending on the coloration, the lineage, etc., will run you anywhere from like $400 for a baby to like up to like $10,000 if you're going for some crazy coloration. I believe the oldest one we've sold for $600 to $800, maybe a little bit more. So with that being said, we are very happy that they're doing well. Now this pair specifically has produced nothing for us this year, unfortunately. It could just be an incompatible pair. It could be any number of things. Maybe they're just taking their own year off, etc. It's really hard to say. Hopefully next year we'll bring some more. If not, we are holding back one of these guys. Not this one specifically, I don't think, but we are holding back some of our larger Chahoua from very early on in the year in order to see if we can get a compatible pair. While we're sticking on the Chahoua, I'll skip forward a couple tanks here and really not have much of an update for you because nobody's out. No, Chahoua do vary dramatically in coloration, not really personality. They're all pretty chill if you work with them at all. The coloration does vary a ton. These guys are our most beautiful pair, and they're producing some insane offspring, but none of them are out, so you don't really need to stare at an empty tank for too long. Now, speaking of staring at an empty tank, we also have another adult male Chahoua in here. Once again, not visible. I'll come back later tonight and hopefully get some footage of them just to show you kind of what they look like when they're out and about. Now, what I am going to spend some time on is the beauty of my favorite genus of lizard, Tachydromus. Both these two tanks are filled with tachyes, and we can dive into the Smaragdinus right now. That right there is an adult female Tachydromus smaragdinus. They're quite small lizards. The Smaragdinus themselves are typically pretty skittish. You know, the fact that she's just chilling there while I open the doors and shove a camera in her face is actually pretty good for these guys, because a lot of times they don't like to deal with it that much. And wow, look at that, right on cue, there's a male adult Tachydromus smaragdinus doing a hand wave at the female. These guys are fantastic. The beauty of them is, as you can see, they are always extremely busy and never a dull moment watching these guys. Maybe some breeding activity going on right now. You guys saw a perfect example of a male and a female Tachydromus smaragdinus, otherwise known as the green grass lizard, the emerald grass lizard. This tank does need some TLC. When the winter comes and they slow down a little bit, I will probably trim up that ficus a bit, maybe add some more plants. Because frankly, I actually kind of like when the bottom is mostly bare, but I wouldn't mind attaching some plants up high or something for them so that they can have a little bit more cover whilst also being able to lay their eggs in the substrate. Once again, this is a male. They are sexually dichromatic, meaning that the males are a different color than the females, or the females are a different color than a male, however you want to word it. You saw the female was bright green entirely, and the males have that beautiful brown lateral line. And now moving to the troublest troublemakers in the realm, the adult trio of Tachydromus dorsalis, the Sakishima Gras lizard. These guys are a more canopy-dwelling species than the Smaragdinus, which are kind of more low to like grassland, hence the grass in their tank. But these guys like to hang out in larger trees, higher up in the canopy, hence why they're probably a bit bigger. They're much more bold. I mean, even if I just go up here, these guys like wig out. Like the second I open the tank, I didn't even have to like put my hand in the tank at all. They just wig out. Whereas you saw me open this, and these guys haven't moved a single inch. Very, very well behaved. Now is kind of evening time. They're winding down, so they're not going to be as inquisitive as they typically are. But one of the females is baking back there. You can see her just chilling, basking on her branch, cooking some more eggs. These guys are kind of egg factories, which I'm actually looking forward to the cooler season, aka during the winter. You know, the room temperature is lower. We reduce their light cycle by like 6 hours. So at the very peak of winter times, the lights are on for about 6 hours a day. And whereas now they're on for like 12 to 14 hours for the day. So very dramatic difference for them, but they typically slow down. Something that kind of bugs me about the tank, but I'm very happy because it's very functional, is the ficus at the very top. So like I was saying, they're tree dwellers. They like to hang out in the canopy, and I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but yeah, you can see that's a tail right there. These guys love to just chill at the top of the tank, which for me is kind of nice because it's, I guess, more realistic. And for them, it provides them good cover to hide from each other, to kind of get out of the eyesight of everybody else. It helps avoid some of any aggression that might go on. Thankfully, the only real aggression that I've seen with this male is just breeding aggression. Never has he ever like destroyed their arm like Mr. Turok over there did to Midori several times. These guys were quite a brutal pair, whereas this trio here is doing fantastic. That is kind of an overview of the Tachydromus dorsalis. I know I've said 700 times that I will be making a care video. I do intend on making a care video. Let me know if you guys would like that. I think the world needs to know more about these beautiful lizards. Rounding out this shelf here, we have the Scaphiophryne marmorata, otherwise known as marbled rain frog. We haven't seen them in basically all summer. Bree has dug them up once just to make sure everybody's still alive and still doing okay. And they are doing great. Typically during the winter when the light cycle is reduced, they do come out and they do hang out much more in the canopy and we get to see them. We are hoping to try and breed them this year, so fingers crossed for that, but we don't actually know the sexes of anything we have. We think we have 2.2, but we're not sure. Yeah, that's them. I'm not going to spend any more time talking about them. And now we can move over to a few select individuals from our adult rack, I suppose. That is going to be changing this winter, which I'm really excited about. And I did have Bree agree to make the Hognose tour before they go into brumation. So you guys will be getting plenty of Hognoses in the very near future. Until that time, enjoy a couple select few that we've picked out from the rack here.
So this is one of the babies that we produced this year. So it's a 2025 Western Hognose. This little guy here is going to be one of the ones we're going to have available on our morph market soon. It's nothing too fancy. It's an Arctic conda. It's possible het for coral, which is lavender albino. But the main goal with these guys was more to produce like a pet quality. Once they shed out, they get this really nice, like sparkly kind of look to them. And they're perfect for just a pet quality hognose. This guy here is super chill already as just a baby. This one hasn't refused a meal since coming out of the egg. He's doing fantastic and will be ready to go probably this month. This one here is the one we just showed. This is his brother who's already had his first growth shed. And what that means is it's their second shed after they've come out of the egg. And with the Arctic gene, it brightens them up quite a bit and gives them what I call the sparkly kind of look. So compared to a normal hognose, they've really got a lot of white speckles in their scales. And this one will turn into it too, but they just take a little bit of time and each one sheds at their own rate. Both of these boys will be available on Morph Market, or you can DM us and we can send you some more pictures and information. They'll also be available at the Toronto Reptile Expo October 19th if you want to come see them in person in your local. So next up we have probably the tiniest baby we hatched this season. This one came out at only a couple grams. Surprisingly, she has been eating nonstop since she hatched and is actually eating full-size pinkies, if you can believe it. This is actually what a super Arctic hognose looks like as a little baby. They don't have any of that nice like black and white contrast just yet. They actually hatch out darker than this. She's actually getting ready to shed, so she's kind of like wrinkly. Once she sheds, she'll actually be black and white, and we'll show you her mom here in a second so you can kind of see the difference between a hatchling super Arctic and an adult super Arctic. And this tiny little girl will also be available. I'd prefer her to get a little bit bigger, so even though she has had over 10 meals now, because she hatched so tiny, I want to make sure she's a bit bigger before going to a new home. She will be up for grabs, and if anyone is interested in her, you can always shoot us a DM. She's actually very chill and loves her food for such a tiny little lady. So this is a boy that we've actually had available for a couple years now. He was a very slow starter. So we don't release any of our hognoses until they eat consecutively without hesitation, happy to take from tongs. Any refusal at all means we hold them back. So he's a lot smaller than his brother is. For 2024, but that's because he skipped several months of eating and actually had to go into brumation a couple times for a couple winters. But now he's back on food, and he would actually make an excellent pet for someone. Would be a good breeder male as well. He is a triple het for albino and frosted. As of right now, it's just a pretty little normal, and he is a bit on the smaller side, so he'd make a good pet for someone. He will be up for grabs at the expo as well. If not, and you're still interested in him, shoot us a DM, and yeah, we can get them to you, whether it's Canada or the US. This bigger boy here is actually just an albino conda, het for absolutely nothing. He comes from Rowan and Lux. They were my first breeding pair of hognose. So this was initially going to be a holdback for a reverse stripe project. As you can see, he's got really clean stripes that don't even connect all the way down to the tail. But we've decided to just downsize a little bit, and it's hard to not want to keep everything, but simply can't. He's a fantastic eater. He's super personable. He's gonna bite my thumb. He's super great, and whether you were looking for a pet or a breeding project, I think he would make a great one for either. This is Puffin. This is one of our first year breeders. So this was her first year in 2025 producing for us. We actually produced her ourselves, so that's really exciting. And this is the mom to that little tiny super Arctic female that I just showed, as well as the two boys. This is what an adult super Arctic looks like. She's got a lot more pink than a lot of them, if you can see the pink tail tip and the pink inside the saddles here. She's a beautiful, nice sized girl. She's We don't grow our hognoses too fast or too big, so she's a great healthy weight and produced a lovely clutch of eggs for us. She is a fiend for food. And there's the Super Arctic belly, solid black. Super Arctics vary a lot. They can have more pink, more green, and sometimes just solid black and white, which we have a couple males here that are just like that. This is Sugarcane. She is not our longest hognose, but she is our largest hognose by weight. She's a healthy weight 5-year-old female, and this is a perfect size for a breeding female hognose. So she is a frosted conda. So conda is the reduced spots, and the frosted gene kind of gives it this light kind of, I guess, beige color to the saddles. And as of right now, frosted is assumed to be a mix of Evans or Dutch hypo and the caramel gene, which is a T-positive albino. However, I believe there's some talks in the works that frosted may be its own separate thing. And the reason it's called a frosted is not because of the color of the body, but because of the belly. The belly is actually white with some black in it, but it's got this almost like, I like to say it kind of looks like ice cream, like cookies and cream ice cream, but it's very white, and not many other hognoses have like such a nice white belly with the black speckling in it. They do also have a reduced head pattern, but I think it's hard to tell unless you put them side by side. So Rowan is also one of our biggest hognoses. However, she's much longer than Sugarcane is. So she's a nice 300 grams breeding female. She didn't produce anything for us this season. That's okay. I tried to give her a break the season before. However, she laid eggs anyway. Rowan here, if you don't already know and you haven't seen her before, she is a condomorph. So once again, reduced spots and pattern. Why she ended up looking like this at around 5 to 6 years old, we do not know. It might be a hormonal change. It might be vitiligo. We are not sure. And as of right now, we have not been able to replicate this pattern. It'd be pretty cool though if we did. However, at the moment, she's still just a beloved pet hognose snake. If you want to learn more about Rowan and, you know, what she used to look like before this, then there will be a video linked in the description. This is Scoria. She is a 6-year-old female gray-banded kingsnake who we've raised from just a little baby. This year was supposed to be her first year producing for us. However, it was a no-go. Not sure why, but we'll hopefully try again next year. However, she is a fantastic, mature female, super, super calm. She's the snake that I love handing to people when they come over and aren't so sure about snake. She's almost got no food response. She sits, she doesn't race around, and she is so nice to just handle. If you've never heard of a gray-banded king snake, or this is your first time seeing one, they are amazing, super small king snakes, extremely easy to care for, and genuinely, I'm not sure why they aren't more common as pets. Lastly, we have Saguaro. This is actually Mike's king snake. It's another fantastic small king snake. These are mountain king snakes, specifically an Arizona mountain king snake. Once again, a fantastic small, calm, super easy to care for colubrid that you don't see that many people have. And I truly wish they would be more popular as pets because the colors, the attitude, everything about them is just so darn cool. He's literally Mike's first snake. We do have a female for him eventually. However, we're not pairing these guys until they're at least 6 years old, just to make sure, as they do mature a lot slower than a lot of other species of snakes. They are a cooler, more temperate species. Because of that, the cooler temperatures means they mature a little bit slower. We hardly handle our animals. They are mostly just for viewing and enjoying, but this is what they're like with almost no handling at all. This is just the general disposition of these snakes. They are so calm and inquisitive, and honestly, I've never even had one try to bite me, even as a food response. I don't think they've even thought about it.
And now that you've seen some of the hognoses, we can move over to the Dueling Dragons tank. I don't know why I call them that. Well, it rides in Disneyland, that's why. Anyway, that's besides the point. I guess we'll start here at the Fuego. You can see the female back there. She's so beautiful. These are my Oophaga histrionica Fuego. And there should be somewhere, haha. This is actually one of their froglets that has grown up and is now no longer a froglet. Tons of yellow on him. Absolutely stunning frog. Now the other male, I don't actually know where he's at the moment. Yeah, he's back there, but you can't really see much of the patterning on him. Anyway, this tank is doing pretty good. This is gonna need some TLC. I don't know if they're raising tadpoles or not. I need to take a closer look in some of the axles and stuff like that, because I do want to remove probably this giant bromeliad that she's sitting on, and then move this one to the back, and then replant the whole thing and, you know, get it all looking nice and new. It's been a couple years of this tank the way it is, and while I love this Nova, it is literally pushing the glass. Like, the glass is pressurized now. I do indeed think it's time to move on from such a crazy Brom and plant a couple smaller ones. Unfortunately, all the Broms that are very suitable for the histrionica typically do get quite large. So this might actually be going to my buddy. I haven't even talked to him yet, but my buddy has a massive greenhouse in his basement, and he has some frogs and stuff in there. So, and now over here we have the blue histos. So same species and genus, just different locality. There he is, the baby blue. I'm hoping that there's more of these to come. But it's actually interesting. He spent a lot more time off the ground than the other Fuego babies ever did. Love the colors of his blues as well. Very, very happy with that little froglet. Now the rest of their tank is doing pretty well, I'd say. It looks very jungly. It could use some trimming. Like this plant here definitely could use some trimming, and it could use a little bit of a cleanup. It does look pretty sweet, I'm not gonna lie. The only thing that needs to change is that Brom needs to be removed from the very top and brought down somewhere. I don't even know where I'm gonna put it. I might nestle it in that back corner there and have it kind of grow up through these branches here. Were you making some babies? That would be nice. More eggs is always a good thing. Just a couple weeks ago, there was actually 2 egg clutches. Those are called tadpoles. You can find them various places in Canada now. Jungle Jewel is one of them. But yeah, that's really all I have to say. These guys are doing fantastic. I do have a spare male. So I have 2.1 in here and a baby. So there's 4 frogs in here currently. There's one of them back there. That's the other male back there. Yeah, oh, and I should show you guys. The blueberries have made white berries. So that's actually a natural tropical blueberry that produces white berries. I've heard that those blueberries are actually edible, but I'm not going to be the one to test that out, at least not alone. If I'm going down, somebody's coming with me. Those are the 2 beautiful histrionica tanks. I definitely got to say I like this style more. Just that style is so functional. Now there's that new leaf of the El Choco red there, so that could cause some issues. Both tanks are doing great. Frogs are doing fantastic. And now we can move down to here. This tank is one for a single Oophaga Pumilio Bahia Grande, otherwise known as Crystobal. It has definitely seen better days. Like, some of the plants are really doing well, and then some of them aren't doing so well. But it just, I don't know, it seems kind of lifeless to me, which is a little sad. Very bottom corner back there. There you go, you can see her. She's beautiful, she's healthy, she eats well. She seems to be enjoying the bachelorette lifestyle pretty well. Can't say that she has really much to complain about. This tank, I think, will be a victim of the remodels during winter. We'll see what happens this winter, but I think it's definitely due for a trimming and a little bit of a spiff up. It definitely doesn't have the same vibe as the rest of the room. Like I said, some of the plants are doing fantastic, like this Philodendron Burromark's Fantasy. One of the most pretty plants in like the whole hobby. Pretty easy to keep. It's hard to tell, yeah. You can see the nice like veining in the leaves. Really, really beautiful plant. And at the back there, we have a Maxillaria orchid that is doing okay, I guess. Not doing too bad. Typically it flowers during wintertime, which I'm really excited for because the blooms smell fantastic. Kind of smells like a chocolate almost. It smells really, really nice. So hopefully we'll keep that. Give this tank a little bit of spiffying up. If you guys want a video on kind of how to redo a tank without completely taking it apart, let me know. Moving on from that tank, we go to Miss Cardinal, and she's not out. So I'm really not even going to spend much time talking about her tank at all, besides the fact that it also needs a big trim back. This tank is actually one of the other tanks that has fake plants in it. How could we? There are also plenty of live ones, like this Frontopecia here. I can't remember. It's like Ficus Amate Sunset, something along those lines. I'll put the name on screen so you guys can look it up if you want, but it has suffered the peril of pests, and then it came back, and then it suffered the pests again, and now it's kind of coming back again. There's some new leaves there. Not really many pests, or any pests actually, that I can see. The tank is doing pretty darn well. This philodendron, as kind of expected, is exploding and growing at breakneck speed, which is really nice. That philodendron is doing the exact same. I mean, they're pretty easy plants to grow, and when the tank's only about 18 inches tall, they don't have very far to go before they're at the very tippity top of the tank, so yeah, it's definitely going to need a chop back in here. I do not see Miss Cardinal right now. She's probably in shed, and I won't be able to see her for another few days until she actually completes the shed. I'll play some footage right now of her in previous reptile room tours so you guys can see what she's like. She is the most stunning red. I would go almost as far as to say in the natural world. Like, they are such cool little species. They're great for beginners because they stay pretty small. They, are cool, loving animals, so you don't need a heat source of any kind. It's actually harder for us to keep her cool, which is why she is on the floor and under the AC duct as well. So during summer, realistically, our room never really gets above like 78 at the highest, and her tank never really goes above like 72, 73, even when it's that warm in the room. So now we can move over to the last rack in the entire room, the Sonora rack. This is our little 2-foot kind of baker's rack, I suppose. And there's some precious cargo that you guys have already seen on the bottom. He's actually out right now, which is awesome. Anyway, we are focusing right now on the Sonora. These guys are such cool little animals. I never knew about these snakes until I met Bree, and she has made them so freaking cool in my mind. They're up there with some of the best beginner snakes ever. However, there is a caveat with that, because their care, super easy. Finding them, super hard. And making sure that the wild-caught adults are actually healthy is even harder. This is all made with Universal Rock Stone Desert by Exoterra, which makes for an incredibly naturalistic background. Now, I know this tank says Chianactis occipitalis on it. That was kind of their old name, I suppose. It's technically Sonora annulata, and that's what all these guys are. We do have a little tiny fresh hatchling up here, but it's almost never out. And then in here, we have Ho. We actually hatched Ho out. He is a spicy man. You stay in there, you do your job, and I'll do mine. He's a little drama queen, this one. Got so much personality. They're out quite frequently, especially Ho. We see him pretty much all hours of the day. One of the best parts about them is that they eat crickets and other invertebrates, so they're super easy to feed. In the wild, they even eat like scorpions and stuff, which I would love to someday source some like bark scorpions and give these guys a little bit of a rare treat. Now down here, this is another Sonora annulata. We've separated them because we're actually treating the 3 of them in here. He is totally fine, and these 2 are totally fine as well. So these guys are just being treated for internal parasites that we assume, because it's virtually impossible to find any sort of fecal matter from them. We can move over to Sonora episcopa now, which are a different species. This is, believe it or not, an adult, kind of an anery phase. Virtually the same care, like we're literally keeping them identical to all the other ones. And then in here we have a mate to that one, and it's a kind of yellowy orange color. I'll see if I have some footage in the backlog. These guys are very cool. Same with all the other ones. I don't want to keep saying the exact same thing forever and ever. And on the very bottom here, we have Mini B, who you guys have already seen eat earlier. He's just chilling. Absolutely vibing, doing fantastic, living that sweet turtle life. He's currently in a like acrylic tank, I suppose. It's actually what we kept the Sonora in before they moved into all the glass enclosures, and he's doing really well. I'm not going to talk any more about him. You guys have already seen him and watched him eat and whatnot, and then I'll actually be making a whole separate video on kind of the breeding process, a general review of the Vietnamese black-breasted leaf turtles. All I can say is this is truly a dream come true, and little Minnie Bee there has my heart. And we gotta save the rarest for all you American viewers for last, right? I don't know why I harp on that. I think it's because that's my only personality trait, apparently, is owning a Fijian banded iguana. There might be one or two of you that get that reference. If you get it, leave it in the comments down below. Anyway, this is Tytula, our Brachylophus bula bula. I don't really have much to say about him other than he's doing good. Like, there's really not much else to say. We did end up replacing his Fijian grass with this heliconia here. However, it has seen better days, clearly. Although, that being said, I'm looking at the root ball now, and it looks like there's actually a bunch of new growth coming out. With some time, it might come back, because we did rip apart the entire thing and throw half of it in here and then half of it outside, and both parts died, go figure. But it is not his fault. It is primarily due to human intervention. He really didn't actually touch much of it at all. Now, don't get me wrong, he did take the odd bite out of a leaf here and there. Overall, he really pretty much left it entirely alone. Over here, we have some liriope grass, which is actually the exact same grass that I have in with the Tachydromus. I suppose this just proves that you can keep live plants with Fijian banded iguanas just fine. Like, this palm has been one of the original plants that we put in here, oh boy, 3 years ago? Has it been that long? I think it has. Honestly, the main killer of plants in here is pests, not that giant green pest, but like thrips, and really that's the only thing we've had problems with. So we found a solution to that, and it's doing great. Do you guys see him? Yeah, you do. That is a fringed house gecko. I'll put the scientific name on screen right now, but Bree released them into here about a year after this tank was set up to hopefully deal with some of our like spider issues that we were having. Needless to say, they didn't help with the spiders at all, but we do have plenty of captive bred house geckos now, so that's pretty cool. It's really nice to see them actually like reproducing and doing really well. The amount of house geckos that are now in the house, because they can fit between the cracks in the plexiglass, are more than zero. That is something that you have to keep in mind when keeping house geckos in a large enclosure. With that said, the tank's doing great. Tytula's doing great. He's got a little bit of a Pangea mustache going on right now. I'm currently in our quarantine area. You can see a few different bins there, maybe with a few labels that give a couple things away. But we have Banner, our late October 2022 captive bred here in Ontario emerald tree boa. I should say northern emerald tree boa. He's doing fantastic so far. He's eating, he's pooping, he's just doing wonderful. That's like one of the big secrets that we've been keeping from you guys. There's a couple other ones that I'm not going to spoil in this because they are in quarantine, so I don't want to, I don't want anything bad to happen in the time of this announcement and then actually having them join the room / a display outside of the room. Maybe that'll give something a little bit away. But I do feel confident showing you guys one of these. A beautiful leucistic hognose. Would be a shame if we had a couple more. Huh. Interesting. There's your little tease for the quarantine area and what you can expect coming to the reptile room in probably several months. We're quarantining pretty much everything for at least a year, and we're doing several fecal exams, parasite tests, etc. You guys can expect them to be joining the room later on in 2026. And that wraps up the reptile room tour, everybody. You guys have seen a little bit of the quarantine. With the hard launch of Banner from Bree's Instagram, I feel comfortable sharing him with you all. I hope you guys enjoyed that little secret we've been keeping, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It has been one heck of a video sharing all 160 plus, because morning geckos you can round up pretty much infinitely. Yeah, I really hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, smash that like button. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, leave them in the comment section down below. I hope to see you at the Legacy Grand Opening, as well as Tinley, because those are the two events that I'll be attending. Then 2 weeks later, I'll be going down to Michigan for the frog meetup, so hopefully my frog homies I'll see there. We'll see you on the next video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll catch you very, very soon. Bye!